Good morning, students. Welcome to English class. Today the topic that we are going to discuss is simple past tense and present perfect tense. And you may wonder why these two verbs are taken together. One is past, one is present perfect. Okay. So there is a reason, and I think you can say what is common between these two tenses regarding the use of these two tenses. That is simple past tense and present perfect tense. Can anyone say what is common in these two tenses? Okay. Both the tenses show completed actions. That's the similarity. Simple past tense and present perfect tense show completed activity. That is common. Then at the same time, there is a difference in their usage. What is that difference? Okay. In the case of simple past tense, the time of the action is known, or there will be an adverb of time. When we know the time when something completed, we use simple past tense. But in the case of present perfect tense, the time won't be definite. We cannot tell a time reference with the present perfect tense. That's the difference. The similarity is that in both the cases, past actions are shown, completed actions are shown. But the difference is that in simple past tense there is a time reference, but in present perfect there is no time reference. Okay. So coming to simple past tense, see, you know that V2 form of the verb is used in simple past tense. We learned only in simple present and simple past we can use directly the conjugated form. And in simple past, the second form, past form of the verb, V2 form, is used. And there also the specialty is that with all the pronouns, with all the nouns, V2 form can be used. There is no difference. In the case of present tense, we saw that there is difference, plural form, singular form, etc. But in the case of past tense, there is no difference like that. With all the pronouns, we can directly use V2 form of the verb. So in affirmative, in positive statement, we use V2 form of the verb with all the subjects, with all the pronouns. That's why I wrote a letter, he wrote a letter. There is no difference at all. And if it is negative, we have learned that the negative can be formed by adding not to the auxiliary. And here, while we use directly V2 form, there is no auxiliary. So what do? We split the main verb using the forms of do. As the main verb is V2 form, V2 form of the auxiliary, that is did, is used. And the not form, the negative form, will be added to did. So didn't. So didn't plus V1 will be the negative form. So I didn't write a letter, he didn't write a letter, etc. And if it's a question, as we have learned, we have to begin with the auxiliary verb. So did should come first. Did plus subject plus V1 form of the verb is to be used. So did I write a letter, did they write a letter, etc. So the main use of simple past tense we have already mentioned. That is to show that an action took place at a definite time in the past. This is the thing you have to keep in mind. An action took place at a definite time in the past. That means we know the time. There should be an adverb of time. And then how can we find out? How can we identify the adverb of time? In all the sentences, it will be answer to the question when. When did you do it? When did somebody do that. So if you get an answer, that's an adverb of time, maybe at 10 o'clock yesterday, last week, in 1960, etc. Okay, so he wrote a letter yesterday. We cannot say he has written a letter yesterday because there is a time reference. So in both the cases, the idea is same, that action is completed. Okay, he wrote a letter yesterday. That means that action of writing a letter, that completed yesterday. The time reference is no. It is completed. We can say he has written a letter, but we cannot say he has written a letter yesterday, because if you ask when did you write the letter, when did he write the letter, yesterday, there is an answer. So what does it show? It's an adverb of time. Or I wrote a letter at 10 o'clock. When? At 10 o'clock. I wrote a letter last month, etc. So there is a time reference in simple past tense. Then they came here last month. There also when, last month. Then I didn't sleep well. When? It is not mentioned there. Then the question is it correct? Yes. Because even though the time is not mentioned, we know that if somebody tells that I didn't sleep well, surely it will be, the time will be yesterday or last night. It will always be. I cannot say that I didn't sleep well last month. No, there is no meaning. So in a conversation or while we speak, if somebody tells you that I didn't sleep well, we are thinking of the previous night. So as it is always understood from that context, the time is not mentioned. Otherwise, we should mention the time when. Okay, that's the difference while we use simple past tense and present perfect tense. Okay, so only one main use of simple past tense, to show a completed action while the time is definite or the time is no. Okay, then we'll come to present perfect tense. We have learned that in perfect tense the auxiliary verb used is have. Have plus V3 form of the main verb is perfect tense, and here it is present perfect. That means present form of the auxiliary verb have. Present form means V1 form, and two V1 forms we have learned, have and has. So present perfect tense means have or has plus V3 form. And where do we use have? With the pronouns I, we, you and they. So have plus V3 is to be used. But if it is third person singulars, he, she and it, has plus V3 form is to be used. So I have written a letter, he has written a letter, etc. And if it is negative, okay, already there is auxiliary have or has. So if we have to make negative, we have to use the negative form with this auxiliaries. So I have written a letter, the negative form is I haven't written a letter, he hasn't written a letter. And if it's a question, use the auxiliary verb in the beginning. Have they, have I written, has she written, has he written, etc. And the use, mainly two uses we have to think of here. One is to show that an action has completed in the immediate past. To show that an action has completed in the immediate past. Then what do you mean by immediate past? That means it is past, but it is very near to the present. Understood? Immediate past. It is past, but it is very near to the present. That is, some action has completed within or just before a few moments, etc. So he has just arrived. So it's a fact that the person arrived there, but it's only a few minutes back. So that's why we use the term immediate past. He has just arrived. അവൻ ഇങ്ങോട്ട് എത്തിയതേ ഉള്ളൂ അല്ലേ, എത്തിയിട്ട് അധികം നേരം ആയിട്ടില്ല. ആ ഒരു മീനിങ് ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ടാണ് we use present perfect to show that immediate past. They have just gone outside. And then normally while we use present perfect, there will be some of the expressions like just, until now, recently, so far, etc. This will be normally used with the present perfect tense. He has just arrived examples we have seen. And then while we say until now, so far, etc., normally we are speaking of something which we couldn't do so far. We will have the desire to do something, but so far we haven't got a chance for that. So negative, like ഇത്രയും കാലം നമുക്ക് ആഗ്രഹമുണ്ടായിട്ടും സാധിക്കാതെ പോയ ചില കാര്യങ്ങളെ പറ്റി പറയുമ്പോഴാണ് നമ്മൾ until now, so far അങ്ങനെയുള്ള എക്സ്പ്രഷൻസ് ഉപയോഗിക്കുക. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ, until now I haven't seen Sachin Tendulkar. Until now I haven't played cricket with Sachin. Or just now, that we have already seen. Or so far I haven't acted with the Mammootty. Okay, so I have a certain desires, unfulfilled desires. അപ്പോൾ അത് കാണിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ പ്രസന്റ് പെർഫെക്റ്റ് ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നു. അതെന്താണ്, നമുക്ക് ഇത്രയും കാലം സാധിക്കാതിരുന്ന ചില കാര്യങ്ങളെ പറ്റി പറയുമ്പോൾ until now, so far അങ്ങനെയുള്ള എക്സ്പ്രഷൻസ് നമ്മൾ ഉപയോഗിക്കാറുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നോർമലി ദീസ് ഫോർ എക്സ്പ്രഷൻസ് ആർ used along with the present perfect tense. Okay, recently I have bought a new car. Okay, then to show that an action is complete while the time is not definite, that's what we have already mentioned. To show a completed action while the time is not known, or the while the time is not definite, etc., we use present perfect tense. I have visited Agra. I cannot say I have visited Agra in 1995 because there is a time reference. If there is a time reference, I should say I visited Agra in 1995. Okay, so I have visited Agra. The time should not be mentioned. If you mention the time, it is simple past tense. Then he has met his uncle. I cannot say he has met his uncle yesterday. If it is yesterday, I met my uncle yesterday. Okay, so simple past tense can be used only with a time reference, but present perfect without time reference. This is the main difference which we should keep in mind while we use these two tenses. Okay, this is the only point which I have to discuss today regarding the use of simple past tense and present perfect. And I think in our case mainly you should keep in mind the difference while we use it. You should be very careful of it. That is, if you are mentioning a completed action, you can mention it in different ways. One is you can use simple past tense, then there should be a time reference. But if you are using present perfect, there should not be, you should not mention the time. Okay, clear. Then, okay, based on that, see, I have given 5 sentences in which you have to use present perfect tense or simple past tense. Okay, so first one, I dashed 3 policemen this morning. So as the time is mentioned there, when, this morning, it would be better to use simple past tense. So I saw 3 policemen this morning. The children dashed the window last week. There also the time is mentioned when, last week. So the verb should be in simple past tense. So V2 form of break, that is broke, is to be used there. He dashed that film. See. And here, if you look, you can see there is no time mentioned, no time reference is there. There is no adverb of time. So what should you do? You should use present perfect. He has seen that film. Has. Why it is has? As it is he. With the he, that person, we can use only has. If it is I have. So he has seen that film. John dashed me recently. We saw that If the word recently is there, just until now, so far, recently, it should be present perfect. So what should be the answer? John hasn't called me recently. Okay. Then she dashed to another city last year. There also time reference is there. Last year, so the V2 form of the verb given, moved to another city. She moved to another city last year. But at the same time, if we remove last year, what will be the sentence? She has moved to another city. Okay, but here the time reference is there, so simple past. So dear children, just keep in mind this point. I think there is only one point you have to keep in mind, mainly regarding simple past tense and present perfect. As I have mentioned earlier, simple past tense should be used only with the time reference, but present perfect should be used to show a completed action while the time is not definite. Okay, so it's a familiar topic, but if you haven't noticed this difference so far, just make sure that you learn it. So we will meet you with another topic tomorrow. Thank you.